My neighbor brought me over his digital angle gauge, which is kind of like a level that doesn't work. Want me to see if I could take a look at it, see if I can figure out a way to fix it for him. And he told me the problem is the battery compartment has got a problem with the battery clip. So we're going to pull this one apart and see if we can get in there and change the battery clip and see what this thing looks like inside. Let's check it out. This is a digital angle gauge that so basically a level sensor. And the guy that brought it to me said that the battery terminal is broken. He'd like me to see if I can fix it for him. So I don't know what damage is done. He just said it doesn't work. So let's just tear into this thing, and he even supplied a little screwdriver with it. We'll just tear into this and see what's wrong with the battery terminal. Oh, there's the battery terminal there. Oh, I can see what's wrong with it right now. Battery terminal's broken off. Ha! So this is a little more involved because you're not just going to put this back on. I need to find a new clip. Fortunately, I have a source of clips. Just so happens that I have a couple of brand new, made in Japan. They've been sitting around for years, hence the fact that they look a bit worse for wear, but I'm sure that if we check them out and put a battery on it, that there is good connectivity and good power flow through them, because I don't think that little bit of surface corrosion is going to make any difference whatsoever to the operation. I've got a pack of 6 of them, and they all look exactly the same, so I think it's just from sitting around waiting to be used. So we'll put the battery clip on and we'll measure the voltage on here and see that we do indeed have 9 volts. So we know that the clip is good. So I'm going to change out the clip on this little gauge. And I'm going to take the unit right apart so that I can get the wires right in onto the circuit board. None of this cutting the wires and trying to join them here. That's kind of a half-assed way of doing things. So let's remove the screws. See if I can take this thing apart. And then you guys can see what's inside one of these little digital angle gauges. A level, in other words, right? I mean, today you could do this with your phone. I'm sure there's apps for that. In fact, I know there's apps for that. I had an app for that on my old BlackBerry, if you can remember back in the days when I was sporting a BlackBerry. I've still got a BlackBerry. I've still got a couple of BlackBerries, actually. I've got a Z30 still that I use for there's a magnet in here. This is magnetic. I have a Z30 that I use for playing music. In fact, if I tune my TV to channel 4, I've got scenery that's just streaming off of YouTube, but I don't have the music playing from it because it's, quite frankly, a lot of times it's terrible music that they've got on there. So I've got my own music streaming at the same time, playing off of an SD card in my old BlackBerry Z30, which I just use as a music player. So let's see if this will come apart now. I've taken out the screws. Will this chassis pop apart, or is there more to it than just removing the 3 screws? I would think that the 3 screws is all that needs to come out on this thing, but it doesn't appear to want to budge. Maybe because I have to remove the magnets as well. See, these are magnets here. For relatively strong ones, I should point out. In case you're wondering what all those sirens are in the background, I found out after the fact that somebody got run over
in the parking lot. A couple cars collided, and one car, after they collided, went out of control and ran over a pedestrian. And hours later, they were still cleaning up the mess.
Okay, there's one magnet out. If I get these magnets out of the way here, I can probably pull this whole board out. Second magnet out of the way, and if I can get this third one up out of here, I can probably pull the whole, here comes the whole board out now. Excellent. There we go. Okay, here's the little circuit board right down here. And this should be relatively easy just to unsolder the two wires, put the new wires through, and hook them up. So let's just remove the hot glue, the hot snot, as Dave Jones would have called it. Just heat the hot snot up a bit to melt it. Get the wires out of the way, and I can remove the old clip.
Check out the IC on this one. They've got it down to one chip, and they don't want you knowing what it is, because the chip itself is right on the board, and then they've covered it with epoxy. So they've encapsulated the entire circuit.
Solder down the new clip. Red to 9 volt and black to ground. The reason I mentioned about the smartphone is that, well, the guy that owns this is an old fellow, my neighbor. In fact, he's the guy that has that 1940 car radio that I'm working on. We're trying to get a switch for it. Actually, he's found a switch for it. The problem is, can't get the switch because it's in the States, and it was shipped to a mail drop down in the States, which, well, we can't go down there right now because of the whole COVID thing. Nobody can cross the border. So the part for that's actually sitting, waiting to be picked up, but it's got to get it here somehow. Then we can change that out. But anyway, he doesn't have a smartphone. He's old school. He does not have a smartphone, so he uses these legacy devices for things like checking level and so forth. So we'll just melt that hot glue, hold the wires in place, and then I can reseat the cabinet. The wires are going to be a little bit longer this time, which is fine, because at least he'll have some slack when he's manipulating the battery. Now we just got to get these magnets back in place. Okay, let's get the magnets back in place before I put the screws in, so that there's still some slack on here. Should be able to push that into place if I work at it. There we go, that one's in place. The next one, same deal. And one more to go. There we go. The 3 magnets are in place. I can now put the screws back in and have the magnets interfere with me installing the screws by dragging them away from the screwdriver. Okay, that's it. Put the battery in, and back Cover goes on. This thing, in case you're wondering, is a commercial screwdriver magnetizing tool. I've had it for probably 40 years. At least 35 years. Maybe 40. I think I got it at Radio Shack. At one point it had, I've put tape on it because it had like a I guess they were O-rings or rubber. Well, they weren't plastic bands, but they were like O-rings, and they had two of them around it that held it together, and they broke. But basically, if you rub the screwdriver on one side, like this side, there's a slot here. If you rub it on this side, you demagnetize it. If you put the screwdriver in there and rub it around on this side, it magnetizes it. That's the idea, and yeah, they work pretty good. So see, I've had it for eons. I'm pretty sure I bought it at Radio Shack. Anybody remembers Radio Shack when they were around? Okay, let's turn the unit on. Okay, error because it's not showing an angle. So now it does. Let's get a shot of the front. My bench isn't quite level. What do you know? So it shows you your angle. And I guess it has other level. Oh, okay, there's a little indicator over here as to if you're level or not. Let's see how close it is. So let's get my real level out. Well, as you can see, my bench is not quite level. If I bring this side up here a bit so that the bubble is, there you go. I'm off a little bit. My bench is not perfectly level. It does not surprise me because I built this bench, I'm going to say it was 2003, I guess, 2004. I just threw it together. I just went and bought a couple 2x4s and a piece of, what is this type? It's not, it's like a particle board top. But I just went into the hardware store and bought, or into the lumber store and bought some 2x4s and had an old handsaw. And I just kind of threw it together and just stuck it on the floor. So the legs aren't even straight, but there we go. This level is exactly correct. As you can see, the bubble level here is perfectly level right in the middle, and it's showing 0. It's showing perfectly level. And if I drop it a bit, now it's showing that it's off. It's tilting a bit this way. It's tilting a bit up. If I go the other way, it's going to show it's tilting down, you see? So down is the side to the, and it's showing me a one degree off, and on this side it's going to show plus. There you go. And what's this say? Tilt percentage? Is that what that is? Oh, 1.39%. There we go. Right, 0. So if you're doing plumbing, for example, and you need to have a 5% grade for drains, for example, then you can use a gauge like this. Anyway, it's fixed. A little more in there than I thought there would be, but hey, it's up and running again. Thanks for watching.